Here begins tape number 1 in the videotape deposition of Donald J. Trump in the matter of Trump Old Post Office LLC versus CZ National LLC and BVS Acquisition Co. LLC in the Superior Court of the District of Columbia, case number 2015 CA 005890B. Today's date is June 16th, 2016. The time on the video monitor is 9:59. The videographer today is Zach Arnson-Serrata, representing Planet Depots. This video deposition is taking place at 1200 17th Street Northwest, Washington, D.C. Would counsel please voice identify themselves and state whom they represent?
Rebecca Woods, counsel for Trump Old Post Office. I also have with me Alan Garton, general counsel for the Trump Organization.
Deborah Baum, counsel for the defendants, CZ National LLC and BVS Acquisition Company LLC.
The court reporter today is Debbie Whitehead, representing Planet Depots. Would the reporter please swear in the witness?
Can you raise your right hand?
Yes,
Do you swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Trump, and again, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.
Would you state your full name for the record, please?
Donald John Trump.
And I imagine you've had your deposition taken a number
I
of
have,
times.
yes.
So you know the drill. And
I do.
won't waste anyone's time going through it.
Good, thank you.
Do know that if you need to take a break, I'm happy to let you whenever.
Very good, thank you.
What did you do to prepare for the case today, for the deposition?
I would say virtually nothing. I spoke with my counsel for a short period of time. I just arrived here and we proceeded to the deposition.
Thank you. So you didn't look at any documents or
No, I didn't.
anything? And of course, I don't want to know what you talked about with your counsel. Let me quickly have this marked as the next deposition exhibit, which I believe is 182. And then this time remembered, sorry, to bring a copy for you, Alan. Trump, that's the notice of your deposition, actually technically the second amended notice. At the very last page, page 8, there is a list of documents requested. Did anyone ask you to look for documents related to this case?
I believe my lawyer did, and he looked for them with my secretaries.
Do you keep handwritten notes?
No.
I think your daughter told me in her deposition that you don't email, and I observed that that's because you're a very smart person.
Yes, we've figured that out. It took a lot of people a long time to figure that out. That's right.
But do you make notes? Do you have anything on paper related to this case?
No, I don't.
What do you know about this case? What's your understanding of this case, other than anything your lawyers told you?
Well, it's a restaurant with a good name and a good reputation.
And by it, do you mean Mr. Zakarian's restaurants?
Yes,
Or?
yes. And we worked long and hard and spent a lot of money, even in legal fees, to get a lease signed. It was a very prime spot in the building. I actually think he made a mistake by not doing it, because I think he would have done well there. But a very prime spot in the building, and ultimately it got signed. I believe my son Don worked on it for the most part, but I haven't been involved in it almost at all. But we were happy to have him in the building.
What do you know about the lawsuit?
Well, I just know that they canceled the lease, I guess based on the fact I'm running for office, and they thought I made statements that were inflammatory in some form, and I don't know if they sent out a notice. I think what was maybe worse than sending out a notice, they went to the press, and essentially it became a press deal, but they tried to get out of their lease. I assume at some point they sent us a notice or whatever. I don't know. I don't think I've ever seen the notice, but I know it's been terminated anyway. They terminated the lease in their mind.
What do you mean in their mind?
Well, I mean they wanted to get out of the lease, so they sent us a notice. But we feel we have a lease.
What do you think they wanted to get out of the lease?
I don't.
Objection. Sorry, objection foundation.
I don't understand why they did this. I'm running for office. I obviously have credibility because I now, as it turns out, became the Republican nominee, running against, we have a total of 17 people that were mostly senators and governors, highly respected people. So it's not like, you know, like I've said anything that could be so bad, because if I said something that was so bad, they wouldn't have had me go through all of these people and win all of these primary races, and I'm pretty even in the polls, or close to even in the polls right now. So, so I was very surprised that he wanted to get out of the lease.
Did you have any understanding at the time of the termination as to why he wanted to get out of the lease?
I wasn't too much involved in it. It was mostly my son and daughter, who you know.
Okay. Have you had any conversations with either, well, with not just your children, but any of your internal Trump team regarding this lawsuit?
No. No, not at all, other than Mr. Garten for a couple of minutes.
And I'm not asking about what
Yeah,
you talked
that's
with him
okay.
about, because he's your counsel.
But no, I haven't really discussed it.
Okay, have you had any discussions with Ivanka or Donald Jr. at all about this dispute?
Other than they said that I guess he wanted to get out, and that was a while ago. Since then, I haven't discussed it. I didn't even discuss their deposition that I assume they took with you, based on your statement.
Are you you're the majority owner of the old post office entity,
Yes.
correct? Do you know what percentage you own? Beneficially or directly?
Well, my children have a piece. We own 100% as a company. My children have a piece of it.
And who is, but you personally are the majority owner
Oh,
or
yes.
beneficial owner of the
Yes.
entity?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know what percentage you own?
I guess it's close to 80%.
Who's the decision maker for the Trump Old Post Office entity?
I would say in this case Ivanka and Don. I am ultimately, but I rely on them to make the decisions.
Has that changed over time?
I think as they've become older and wiser, I give them more and more decision-making ability. But they have the right to make a decision, yes.
At the outset of the Trump organization's desire to pursue a lease from the GSA for this property, were you principally in charge at that point in time?
My daughter mostly was involved. Ivanka, I would say, more than anybody else.
What's your vision for the Old Post Office Hotel project?
Well, I think it's going to be a beautiful project. We're opening fairly soon. Too bad we don't have the restaurant in it. We would have liked to have had the restaurant. We think it would have been good for the hotel. But we'll be opening soon, and it'll be a luxury hotel. Hopefully one of the great hotels of the world. The building is spectacular. But the building is really spectacular, and the construction has come out very well.
Has your vision for the hotel project changed over time?
Not too much, other than the restaurant, actually, and the restaurants. Not too much.
And when you say the restaurant, you mean the Zakarian
Yes.
restaurant?
Yes.
And there were originally going to be two restaurants,
Right.
one in the Cortile
Correct.
Central Space, the
Correct.
Jose Andres restaurant,
Yes.
and you now have BLT,
BLT, yes.
and no restaurant in the northwest corner, which was
No.
going to be the Zakarian space.
We didn't have time. I would have rather had a restaurant. We just didn't have time to do it.
How would you describe the Trump brand?
A luxury brand. I think it's a brand where people know we get things done. It's a very successful brand, and does well
Around the world.
around the world, yes.
And is it fair to say that you are the person largely responsible for building that brand?
Yeah.
And is it fair to say that you are the individual mostly associated with that brand?
Objection.
Yeah, I mean, yes, and I think my children are coming more and more into it. Ivanka probably in particular, but they're coming more and more into it.
Okay. Next exhibit. This is 183. Mr. Trump, showing you what's been marked as Exhibit 183. These are materials we got from your website, and you're free to, but I don't mean to ask you to take your time to read the whole thing. But toward the end, it says, Mr. Trump is personally involved in everything that his name represents. This commitment has made him the preeminent developer of quality real estate known around the world, and in all his endeavors, the Trump gold standard is apparent. See that?
Yes.
Is that a true statement?
Yes.
And when it says that you're personally involved in everything that your name represents, what does that mean, that your name represents?